Hi, Red-Headed Riding Hood here, red for short. How is everybody? I'm very good. I'm gonna read you William Barclay's Daily Celebration, Volume 2, and update you on what's going on with me. I'm still very excited. I'm so happy I'm moving back to California finally. I've been wanting to for probably 10 years since I separated from my husband in 2014. I've always had it in the back of my mind, but when the kids were little, it was just too expensive. My mom would have loved for us to move to California. My ex did not like California. Didn't like it. I mean, he liked it to visit. He liked Yosemite and stuff, but he liked to travel there, but he did not want to live there, and it would have been too expensive for us when we were raising our family. Georgia was a good place to raise our kids. That's what we did. I mostly, I did all the heavy lifting. I raised my kids in Georgia for 30 years and left Georgia in 2020. And we had been there since 1988. So, yeah, but I'm from California. We moved to Florida in 79 when I was 12 years old, but all my family has always lived out there, mostly. My parents were in Florida for a while, 5 years, and then Texas for 10 years, and then they moved back to California in 1995. So my grandparents were out there. I have cousins, aunts. My uncle passed that was there. I have an aunt and uncle who have a place in California and a place in Hawaii, and they're in Hawaii right now. But yeah, it's where I'm from, where my family's from. My dad was born in San Francisco in 1928, and my parents lived most of their lives in California, except for the short amount of time they were on the East Coast and then in Texas for 10 years. So yeah, I'm gonna read this. Take your faith with you, January 22nd. As a church member, you are one of a community pledged to the spread of the gospel. Do you realize that serious fact that a church member is one of a community pledged to the spread of the gospel? Do we ever pause to think why we are members of the church at all? A lot of people aren't these days. Is it to obtain the rights of the church at marriage and baptism and death? We had a baptism of a baby at our church on Sunday. Is it to have the right to expect a visit from the minister when we are ill, and to have the equal right to complain bitterly if we do not receive such a visit? Is it a little better to gain help and strength for the days of the week? I think it is. If you find the right church. We are members of the church because we are pledged to the spread of the gospel. Where are we going to spread it? I know of many cases where people were, as they claimed, converted, quote unquote. They were asked what they were going to do tomorrow now that they were converted. The answer invariably was, I'm going to say my prayers and read my Bible, which is a good answer. That is a very inadequate description of the Christian life, though, Barclay says. You could do that and never move outside of your own house or room. That could be sheer escapism. Yeah, you could do that and then never move outside. Yeah. Of course, we must say our prayers and read our Bibles, but the object of doing so is to go out into the world and to live for Christ in the shop, the office, the factory, the school. It is there that our Christianity is seen or not seen. We are in the church not only for what we can get out of it, but also for what we can bring out of it to others. That's good. Gosh, last year I changed churches twice. And I had been at the Cherry Creek Presbyterian Church, which I did like it. It is a good church. Since November 2022, right after I moved in here. I moved in this apartment in August 2022. I had come to Denver in June 2022. And so this move is exciting for a lot of reasons. I'm finally really going where I want to go, and I'm not going to, when I went to California in my RV the first time, I was purposely going to help my brother because my sister-in-law was very ill in the end stages of breast cancer. She had had it for a long time. And I arrived in 2020 in December, and I was there for a month, and she passed in January 2021. So, and then I had left my RV in California at my brother's and flew to my friends back in St. Louis, where my address was and where I had an Illinois driver's license and I had Illinois tags on my RV. But I flew back to Illinois to help Gladys for a month from February to March 2021, and then came back to California and then Southern California, and then left Southern California in April 2021 because I really had a falling out with my brother, and that was unfortunate, but like necessary. Like what's happened recently with my kids was unfortunate, but necessary, and I needed to stick up for myself, and you know, I wasn't in the wrong. I'm sorry, but I wasn't in the wrong. I just helped him with his ill wife, and I did the shopping for them. I cooked for them. I even took her to a couple of treatments. She was still wanting to fight. I took her for a couple of chemo treatments. Yeah. I just thought of this, and so maybe it's God. It's a funny story. I want to tell you a funny story about my sister-in-law, Joyce. So she had a Toyota Solera, and she had a new one, and she drove very fast and crazy in Los Angeles, and she had the breast cancer off and on. She had been in remission several times, but it would come back, and she had a partial mastectomy on one side, and it would come back, and she always had a great attitude. I think that's why she lasted so long. She was like the Energizer Bunny. But so she had this Toyota Solera, and she drove very fast in Los Angeles, and that one, the newer one, was like a gray silver color. Her sister told the story, and she had thought that the first Solera was red, but it wasn't. It was like a silver blue. It was very pretty. It was a newer one, but so I'm not really sure how many times my niece has these tattoos of, and it's funny because Joyce didn't like tattoos, hibiscus flowers on her leg for her mom's battles with cancer, and I think there's 3 of them. I think the 4th time it came back was the last time. I'm not sure if that's exactly correct, but anyways, it kept coming back. She always had a great attitude, and she drove very fast in LA. So, and I'm trying to figure out what year this was, and I was still in California. I think it might have been around the time I separated from my husband, which was 2014. It was around that time, maybe. Yeah, it was around 24. Maybe it was 2013, 2012. Anyways, she rolled her convertible Toyota Solara, and the top was down. The top was down. She landed on it landed on its wheels. She walked away. Totaled the car. When it's your time to go, it's your time to go. And it wasn't Joyce's time to go. Also, I think my brother installed a fan wrong. This fan and this heavy light, boom, fell down. So we would say Joyce had like 9 lives, and I guess she was on her last one, but so stuff like that. She also told the story about getting caught in the riptide when she was swimming in Mexico and being pulled way, way, way far down. And she also talked about coming out of that. She's like, and we were like, you have 9 lives. And so that happened, right? So then here comes Red to save the day. My brother had called me a godsend at first when I showed up. So I would buy them get the groceries. I would cook the food, and she's like, oh, you can't leave until I gain 15 pounds or whatever. She was getting very thin. And she's like, this is great. And she was like so positive. Not always, but she was a real fighter. So anyways, what happened with the car, she got my brother, being the frugal person he is, like my father, bought her another Toyota Solara convertible, right? And this is what I was driving when I was because I was parked not at their house where they lived, but at their smaller property where their son actually lived, where my nephew lived. And it was a little ways away, so I would drive the car back and forth to the big house and go during the day and take care of her. And I wasn't there overnight. I would go back to my RV and sleep in my RV. And so that's how that worked. And I would drive her new, old, though, Toyota Solara convertible. And it was lovely driving that around. And my brother actually gave me the car, but when I left there in April 2021, I gave it back to him. And then I accidentally took the clicker for the gate and the keys, so I mailed those back to him. But yeah, so I'm driving Joyce around, and I am very careful, slow driver, and especially since I just got this 31-foot RV. Sunny was my RV, and it was a 2007. It was a Chevy engine. It was an engine from what's that called? A Savannah van, Chevy van. Which we had a Chevy van when I was a kid, so that was kind of cool. So anyways, so I was just learning to drive that, and I'm driving Joyce around in her car, and taking her to even treatments and stuff, chemos. I took her to a couple chemos at the end there. and we did Christmas shopping and all that. So we're driving around in her red Toyota Solara, and we get in the car, and she would get annoyed at me because, like, if the light's yellow, I stop, and I'm like, this is not my car. I don't want to wreck this car. And I was very careful with driving my RV because it's just, and she was, like I said, she was a fast driver. Oh gosh, I remember almost getting in an accident on the highway with her once, and she was doing the radio, and she didn't see somebody in her blind spot, and I'm like, Joyce, no, and we were like, and she moved back over, and we sort of, oh goodness, it was insane. But she was annoyed at my slow, careful grandma driving, and she would get annoyed, just like, why are you stopping? Because the light was like yellow. She was like, go through it, and I was just like, and I remembered, like, I used to get into this with my son when I was teaching my younger son how to drive, and he was like, no, I'm not stopping. It's yellow. I'm going through it, and he ended up running red lights because he, wouldn't stop when he had time to stop. And so I would try to stop when the light was yellow. She would get annoyed with me. Don't stop. And so one day we're getting in the car, and I were going somewhere, probably to a treatment or somewhere, or we went Christmas shopping once, I remember that. And I said, fasten your seatbelt, Joyce, because I might flip this thing. And she comes back at me and says, you couldn't flip this car one time. I always laugh at that. Like it was an accomplishment. She flipped it. But anyway, that's the story of the day. So hopefully my devotion will get a few more views because of this great story. I'm also preparing I'm planning for a live, I think I might cook y'all some chicken parmesan. It seems to be a favorite that I cook. So I might cook you some chicken parmesan on Friday. And my eye's getting better from my sty, so I'll be able to put makeup on again, and I won't look so, I don't know. I just look kind of washed out without my makeup on. And so tune in Friday for my live, and I'm gonna let you go now because I have things to do because I'm getting ready to move. So don't say that no one cares for you, because I do, and God does too. Don't forget to pray for Red, because Red is praying for you. Bye.